You, you're bringing it back this week.
I am.
Oh my gosh.
Personally, this is what I'm doing to the entire universe, is I'm making Mercury go retrograde.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. We've been staving it off since like November, which was the last time I went retrograde. And it does it on Wednesday, and it stays in until the 27th. So it's a 21-day period of miscommunication, misunderstanding, bound to be done over again and bound to be repeated. So, and I think it's important to know where in your life that's going to happen so you can try and ameliorate some of the more deleterious effects of it. So for Pisces, the sign that we're in, it's retrograding in Pisces. So, and these are people that are represented by a creature that has no vocal cords. They have a hard time communicating the way it is. Their glyph is two fish with their tails tied together, swimming in opposite directions. And when Mercury goes retrograde, it just ruins things for communication for Pisces. They're misunderstood, misrepresented. I probably, if I were Pisces, I'd write things down and I would try to remember that sarcasm doesn't come across in print when you're trying to get what it is that you want. So, yeah, for Aries, they just have to be careful not to lie. They have to be careful. And Aries, man, lies just kind of fall out of their mouth, so they have to be really careful to either remember their lies or try and avoid saying them for the next 3 weeks or so, because with Mercury behind your sign in your 12th house, your own words are likely to come back to do you in, likely to come back to haunt you. So, yeah, you got to be careful with that. For Tauruses, not a bad place for it. So at least, I know, at least you're going to be living with people that are not having a bad time with this energy. That just means, because it's in their 11th house of hopes, wishes, goals, and objectives, they may have some fits and starts with some sort of a group project they're trying to get off the ground, may need to be worked on, may need to be revised a little bit, but overall it is not a bad place for Taurus, and it's not a bad place to have Mercury retrograde.
All right, for my wife and one of my daughters,
yeah, they'll be okay. For our president, not so much. This is in their 10th house for Geminis everywhere. This is in the 10th house of career and public standing, and they have to be, the best thing to try and do is kind of keep your head down and stay out of the line of fire, which I don't think he's really capable of doing. But Geminis everywhere need to try to not get involved or not be a part of whatever is going on professionally, to try and remain, if they can, above it and remove from it and wait until all of that shakes out, which it will not do until the 27th of March, before they go ahead and take any kind of sides or commit to any kind of professional course of action. For Cancers, this is not bad energy for them. It's in the 9th house of the law. Legal matters, educational matters, important matters at a distance. I imagine sometime the next 3 or 4 weeks or so, there's going to be some court action for the United States in general. But I do have to say that even though it doesn't look unfavorable for them, I don't think it gets resolved in the next 20 or 30 days or so. So for Cancers everywhere, it's going to be legal, educational matters, important matters at a distance, but don't write anything in stone until after it goes direct. For Leos, it's in the 8th house of other people's money, other people's resources. This is a time when unanticipated expenses really irritate Leos. This is where stuff that they had just not accounted for, kind of out of the blue from left field, kind of happens. And it may be that they have to help someone less fortunate than themselves, and
we
you
know
may
how
want
to do that.
Yeah, it's that kind of a thing. It's not a horrible thing, but it's a matter of, it's just a little more money going out than coming in for about 3 weeks or so. But I have to say, usually it's for a worthy cause, somebody that really needs that help. So that'll make it a little easier to tolerate. For Virgos, it's in their 7th house of partners and open enemies. And whenever Mercury opposes your sign, people point fingers at you and go, you, and there's not really much the Virgo can say about it. It's going to be, all right, you got me. So how do I fix it, or what do I do to make it right? And partners, Virgos have to remember, partners have feelings too, and that Virgos do not have a monopoly on that, and that they really should consider what their partner's feelings are about a subject. For Libras, it's in their 6th house in work, health, and responsibilities. So for Libras everywhere, I say, be careful with any kind of medical stuff. Get a second, get a third opinion. And if it's elective surgery, or you're not bleeding from an artery, I would postpone it until after Mercury goes direct on the 27th of March. And then there's also something going on at work. They're not really a part of it. It's not what they do, but it is where it is they do their job might be worked around a bit, is the only way to describe it. For Scorpios, great energy for them. Let's have as much fun as we possibly can, because this is in their 5th house of love affairs, children, sports, amusements, pleasures, anything entertaining. It really does unleash their creativity. And Scorpios are trying to find ways to make more money. And so take the next 3 or 4 weeks or so to look at something that is a hobby or something that's a passion of yours, and see if there's a way you can turn it into a money-making venture in, a couple of weeks or so. For Sagittarius, this energy is in their fourth house of home, and they really need to remodel their home, refurbish their home, clean up their home. It's a good time for spring cleaning. It has to do with straightening things out at home that make it easier for the Sagittarian to move about the world. For Capricorns, this energy is not bad for them. It's in their third house of day-to-day living, so they have short distance, short duration travel. There's some sort of additional education that they have to get, and they're in the middle of kind of doing it, and they need to make sure that all of the information is accurate and correct, and don't trust that whoever it is they sent the documentation to got it. Check it and follow up yourself just to be sure. It's the kind of thing where for Capricorns everywhere, they want to do the research themselves just to be sure. And then for Aquarians, it's about making and spending money. For Aquarians, it's sort of like the money comes in and you go, yay, and then it immediately goes back out. It's not the kind of money that you get to hold on to. It's something that, it could be I think, from insurance money, but it has to do with money. And it stays in your hands about 35 seconds before you have to pass it on along. So it's not, I don't think this Mercury retrograde is going to be awful because it's an immutable sign of Pisces. It's more along the lines of stuff that we do ourselves in rather than universe conspiring to give us a bad time. So although, yes, it's retrograde for pretty much the month of March, it is not as bad as I think people are afraid it's going to be.
All right, sounds like decent news.
Yeah, tomorrow's
news,
not great
decent
news, not great news, but not the worst news in the world.
We'll see you next week and make it better.
Always a pleasure.